computer. So this is another test, because although I can quite easily stream while drawing, it turns out that I couldn't stream while running a role-playing game. So here I am. And what we're going to be doing is drawing Idrima, who is an NPC in the RuneQuest role-playing in Glorantha world. And I've chosen her because I've been doing little, thin, delicate things lately, and soft little line, well, not soft little line drawings, but pointy line drawings with colour in. And I want to do something else. I want to give something else an attempt. And Idrima has literal mass. But we're still going to do our basic under. She's probably got more slopey shoulders than that. And she's an earth deity of sorts, although more associated with death than with fertility. However, even huge people made out of stone do sacred dances. So we're going to have her doing sacred dances. She doesn't so much have fingers as kind of tentacle-y things, or kind of ways that her hands stop. And I want to represent hands with those, but at the same time I want them to be obviously very different to how human hands would be. I like that line there. I want to try and remember to keep it in. She's available to look at in the RuneQuest Quickstart. Because I've been concentrating on bulk, everything's gone a bit wrong. I've just make her smaller that way, but not that much smaller, and a bit smaller that way, back into proportion. That's what we want. Let's try 45% down here. There, now you can see where the edges are. Now we didn't make her a huge amount smaller. And her feet I definitely want to be merging with the ground. She can stamp and cause earthquakes, but her feet shouldn't be human. That's a big part of what she is. Like, she's connected to it, connected to the earth in a way that we just don't have and can't have. Oh, hello viewer, please, if you are logged in, say hi, and if you're not logged in, hello to you anyhow. Now she's got big solid legs, but we've actually gone a bit small on this body. Like, she should be just absolutely massive. And then her head is coated with odd bands. And if you move them aside, it's disturbing, so we'll do her with the bands on. Down here I have my title that's been added on in a different layer, so I'm going to be painting under the foot, but I'll move that aside once I've decided exactly how big we are. Or in fact, I think I can probably move it aside now. There we are. Idrima, the Stone Woman, RuneQuest Glorantha, make you a bit smaller. Where does that look good? That looks okay down there. I put it bottom left for obvious reasons. We have straight lines there and straight lines there. Straight lines bottom and left. But now we can get on with what we're actually doing. We'll lock this layer, we don't want to mess with it. Layer 2, we're going to fill in some solid dark colours. So she's in a lot of shades of brown. And we're going to go in there with a darkish brown. I'm probably going to colour all on one layer here. I'm not particularly worried about the layering. It's just going to be, you know, layer 2. But let's work out where the light comes from. If we have her shadow of a hand being cast there, does that work? I think probably getting the shadows cast that way so that they go from left to right, which means that our main light goes from left to right, and it comes in quite a lot from the top as well. Yoink. And a little bit from behind. Actually, a little bit from behind that way. Okay, so this is our current brush. I'm going to go for something different. I haven't quite decided yet, and this is a new critter setup. So I'm not exactly sure where all the brushes are, and I don't have my favourites set in, and I might not even have downloaded all the brushes I want. But yeah, we've got that one. Solid lines, solid chunks. Having thought about this and just how the blue layer's getting obliterated, I think I probably am... Oh, lock that, lucky. I think I probably am going to have to do it in all different colours. This is Idrima. She has solidity to her. This is the charcoal brush. Layer 3 will get a bit lighter. And this is most of the mass colour. When you're pressing Ctrl Z to undo, it's quite important to actually undo, to, you know, not be pressing Ctrl# instead. Main body colour. Definitely some shadows falling in here. Shadows under there. Stuff under the arm. I'm using the charcoal brush because it gives a kind of stony texture, but I'm thinking I've probably decided on the wrong brush too early, and that's a bit annoying. But we'll decide when we actually get to the point. And I'm doing it on all different layers as well. I really am not practiced with critter right now. I'm not practiced with anything right now. We'll work out when we get into things, like actual details, whether this is the wrong brush or whether it's just very big right now. Yeah, let's have a different highlight layer. I'm not bothering to rename them because I'm just keeping them with numbers on. I don't know, with that I think it kind of works. So if we make the brush a lot smaller, oops, now we could put in definite highlights. That needs to be bigger again for the actual masses. Okay, closing my eyes and squinting at that, it's got a sense of solidity to it. So I'm kind of okay with this after all. I'll just make sure we've got some highlights in there. Now, having done something that quickly puts the correct areas into the correct places, what I now have to do is actually make it into a painting, and that's really, really awkward. First of all, it means turning off my guide. I'll be able to turn it on every now and then to work out if that's what I actually want or if a particular thing is what I actually mean. However, I've got to go without the lines because the lines are really a prison for me. I want to do this in masses. And from now on, critter never change. From now on, I'm basically attempting to refine and smooth. She needs to have some form of shadow there. And I'll make it so it's hard to tell where her feet stop being. A lot of this is slightly blurred because it's underneath things. So I'm drawing the darks underneath where the midtones are. Then I'm going back up for the midtones. It's very strange as an oil painter being able to do this, to go underneath something that already exists and being able to check out where a particular colour is by turning that colour on and off. And I don't know that I'll quite get used to it. I'm about to resize the critter window slightly, so that'll stretch it up and around a bit. And hopefully that's not too damaging for you, but I need to be able to see where the layers are a bit better. There we go. That's stretched out. Thank you for your patience. And I'm wondering where this pale bit comes from. And yeah, layer 4, that bit's too big. It's like the size of a whole tentacly finger bit. So we can remove it, but then we need to replace it with something. And if we see what happens when we move layer 3 on and off, layer 3 also has a lot of that brown in there, so we're going to get rid of it. And then layer 2 needs to have that. Now we can go back to layer 3 and paint the brown on. So yeah, it is very, very strange to me as an oil painter to be doing this. Like, what do you mean you can pick up the paint? Definitely needs more neck definition. Now I think I might actually start scribbling on higher layers, because we're going a lot smaller, so I can put in details and they don't destroy things. And at this size, this charcoal brush, which I do genuinely love, is just unfortunately too small and blurry compared to this texture. So I'm actually going to go back to a different brush, and this will give us a thicker line if we press harder, and we'll do this as a kind of line work above what we've already got. Then we can always go back. So we've got all these bands on her, and I am very much practicing here. It could look weird and ridiculous, but the thing is she weighs multiple tons, so it's not like tiny bandaged head. It's, I have this horrific secret. I'm just going to turn us round a bit so I can get that curve properly. We turned. And I don't want to be just outlining her, because if I'm just outlining her, I might as well use the blue in the first place. What I want to do is add details of shadows and even bits that go onto the stone. So I want to be adding texture to the stone. And if we have, say, a cross-hatched texture that takes direction, then that kind of can be used to indicate where her limbs are and how they move and how they don't actually move like human limbs. So this kind of curls round and curves. Idrima has a special place in my heart, because when faced with the adventure with her in, one of the players paused and considered and then asked me this awesome question which showed that he really understood the world building. It's, can you trust a god? And that was the point at which I kind of knew that he knew himself that gods opened up and existed in the world. Those are too close together. And what I was able to tell him was basically you can trust a god about as much as you can trust a person. It really depends on the god. Why would you think that anyone is different? Okay, and she can have some actual extra shadow there. Yeah, those are some nice non-human hands there. I think, given that she's got these bands here, I'm going to put the crosshatch effect on those as well. Each one individually, because they are all separate, even though they are made of stone, because she's made of stone. If you're wondering what she looks like, you can look up the Venus of Willendorf. What people say when they mean a Venus in this case is basically any naked woman. So it's like a fertility thing, and because a lot of this is judged by old archaeologists, you know, and by old I mean long since dead, what they do is they take any evidence of sexuality and they call it, oh yeah, obviously Venus overtones, because they can't handle that actually people might have walked around and have had sex and have been themselves, and no, it has to be all ritualised. I mean, sure, you've gone to a lot of effort to create a statue of a naked woman there. However, what if it's not about fertility any more than a statue of a naked man is about fertility? You don't really find the naked men statues being called Herms. You get them being called heroes and stuff like that. So I don't object to them being a Venus of, even as an archetype, but I object to there being no male equivalent. So, oh, you got a famous thing, yeah, we can't show this to children. Oh, but you can show the naked women to children, fine, sure. Oh, I love that roll there. I'm not sure if I should make it bigger, but I think that I just love it too much where it is. So, if my archaeologist friends are still talking to me after that, and there are examples of, like, not of naked men and long barrows next to two round barrows or anything like that, but specifically a class which is equivalent to the Venus of, please do let me know. Because I would be fascinated. Yeah, I do like that she's got texture now. Texture gives us direction and definition. I've just gone from doing right to left strokes to doing left to right strokes to get that angle correct. Given what I did up on the top left shoulder, which was really successful, where they're cross-hatched, I think I need to do it on basically all of the stone, because when it looks and feels noisy, that's Idrima, and it also makes up for a lot of the deficiencies I have here where I just don't know how to paint a thing. Like, if I were doing this in oils, I'd understand how to get from this stage to the next stage, but here I'm literally just learning that thing. That's flattened her, but we can continue to keep her noisy and continue to mould her by putting different lines in. I don't want to mess with that, that's so clear. I'm not actually going to increase the noise in it. It sits nicely for me already. I'm a bit worried that that looks like a second foot where really it shouldn't. I mean, worried enough that I'm going to go back through the colour layers and just erase, even though I kind of liked that. I wonder if that's in my favourites. No, because I haven't set it up as a favourite. Nothing here works the way I want it to, because nothing is yet set up the way it is on my old computer. Right, I'm desperate. Anything with an edge. There we go. What did we do there? We're still in the wrong place. We're on the wrong layer. That's fine. We don't much care. But we do care that we want to erase. E for erase, E to turn it off. And it uses the same brush as you're already using, which is very, very cool. I do wonder a bit who my follower is right now. Hello viewer, I love you too. For those of you who pick this up on YouTube later, I'm currently streaming on Twitch. And I'm a new streamer. So I often don't get people and it's kind of quiet and good to concentrate on. But anyhow, that's cool. I just talk about what I'm doing as I'm doing it. It looks a bit like there's a second person jumping out of her. Yeah, the big colour area concept allows you to make sure that something looks good from a long distance away, which is basically the initial impact that it's going to have. And if something's going to look good from 30 feet, then generally it'll look good when you've been looking at it for a while as well, because it'll kind of be well balanced and satisfying. But ultimately you want it to look good from 30 feet and 3 feet. And if you're an artist and you're going to be judged by other artists, it's also got to look good from 3 inches. Because believe me, at an art gallery I will be all up going, I wonder how they did that, like nose almost pressed against glass. Hello Catherine, how are you? I got a hello. Suddenly happy. Very good, thank you. You didn't catch this earlier, although I've got it written down. This is the Stone Woman, a Gloranthan goddess. But I know, it's a normal resolution for normal people. Did someone tell you that I have a new computer now? I have a new computer now. And it's good. I have had to turn off graphics acceleration, which means that the edges of this sort of line, you can see up there, it's a tiny bit choppy. But it actually isn't choppy, it just looks choppy because it doesn't get fully rendered. I think if I shade that by going that way, I do want more tentacly look there. It really doesn't curve in the way you'd want. Yes, in the program I am using, this is Krita. Let me see if the settings change when I do that. Yeah, annoyingly, what you cannot see is me looking at the settings. So I have Canvas Graphics Acceleration, and I can turn that on, and then it does some auto smoothing and stuff like that for me, and makes it look a lot more like it's going to actually look rather than just blatting it down on the screen. And my current renderer, which I've turned off, is OpenGL, and I'm going to look at other renderers to see how they work. I'll screenshot it up for you later. No, that's too dark on that side, so extra line, extra layer. Eee! Solid. Maybe not. Anyway, I don't want to tell you too much about this, because if I run this sort of thing, then I will be spoilering you. Ooh, Catherine is arting along. I'll give some lighter texture in the really dark areas. I do quite like this scratchy graphics look, and I never used to. I used to think of it as a failure, and then I showed someone, hey, this is a quick version, what do you think? And there's suddenly all the love heart emojis. It's like, I don't understand, what do you mean you like me? This cannot be. Oh no, yeah, so I don't actually know what hosting is, Catherine, which is fun and interesting for me. I guess I get to find out now. Like, this is about my 10th Twitch stream or something. So later I'm going to find out what hosts and raids are. I guess if someone is arting along with me, then I should actually put in a proper background. Which means lock all of this stuff. Oh, how terrible. I can now read a lot better because I've got rid of the banner that says please accept these cookies, and suddenly you're not an inch too low. If you weren't an inch too low in real life, that would be good. We're going to create a new background then, an actual background. And because I know how this numbering system works, layer 0. For those who are wondering, yes, we will probably get to layer -1. Layer 2 is actually up there for reasons. Oh, one sec. I think someone's come to offer. Anthony, you may be very amused to find out that someone else in the household also has computer problems. By very amused, I understand you've suddenly started sobbing. Let's consider just what we can do with coloured backgrounds. Already taking the white out of it to give us something to think about is cool, and that looks like a lighting effect. It's sort of sunset or mistiness. There are people that don't have computer problems, Anthony. You'd be amazed. Some people don't actually have computers. The browns that we've got are a very strong set of colours together. And we've defined that by colouring it in, that all the light bits up here are essentially just this same set of browns, and they're all desaturated, but we should have some kind of lighting colour. And I think that I want to go kind of orange in the background, orange and yellow. Put her in a sunset. And this means we've basically got to draw a shed load of rocks. I wonder if it's under textures. I can't find my favourite brushes, Catherine. You will understand my pain. Here we go. Now, quite unusually, I'm just going to make this massive. And block things in. I kind of like that overlaid strata effect. I don't know if I'll be able to keep it. I don't have to do a background, do I, Catherine? I can just do this. It's okay. It's nah. Goddess Idrima in a very high wind. Right. My problem is that I haven't actually planned for this bit and I don't really know what to do. So, back to actually sketching for a bit. Yeah, I know. That file size is horrid. Let's give her a background. But what's the background? Why is she there? I think we want some ruins. So let's be careful of where the tangents are. We want her to be standing out from things. So how about some city ruins up there? I love Anthony. Anthony is one of those people who does sit there watching file sizes climb. We'll have some distressed walls. Distressed doesn't mean they're unhappy, it means we've hit them with hammers a lot. And then that's a background. And then she's kind of in front there, so we'll continue our textures up there. I think that mostly works. So, city wall colour. Probably everything is much the same when it comes to the rocks. If I can remember how to remove things. Ah, yeah. Oh, my favourites. Remove the ones that we don't want. I'm sure there are other ones we don't want. One day I will remember to actually set this up permanently. Which ones don't I want? I don't want that, which gives us room to actually find the one we do use. Sign to tag my favourites. Woot! You can pretend that's file size there if you like, Anthony. We've got darkness from her. So we're going to unlock layer 2 and give it some of that. Actually, we're going to give it some of that with a rather bigger brush, because that'll give us sharper edges. And then we'll make sure that when we do it this way in the background, we're blurring a bit. If you remember, we've got a bit of light from the back. It is from above and it's coming in that way. So that means we've got shadows all over there, shadows all up the wall. Off here, let's make this area into a proper distant view. So layer, here we do want blurriness, but we're going to paint and then we're going to blur. I do wish that I could remember that plus and minus zoom you in and out, and the square brackets are the ones that change the size of your brush. There. Now we're zoomed to where we want to be, definitely. No changing now. Good. Yes, right. I could give my layers useful names, but given that I haven't really planned this, I don't feel the need to change my current habit. Ordinarily, I would actually be doing more useful things with them, but I don't actually know what each one is going to be for. Okay, sometimes I plan things. So down to about there I can get away with that being a sky, and then I need to have something else, but we'll just suggest some trees or something up there for the moment. But yeah, the back when it was only layers 1, 2 and 3, they were quite useful. And ordinarily, if you look at my other sketches, I have 3 different layers. There's the original blue gesture drawing, there's the black one. Suddenly music? That must be music from someone else, because I'm not suddenly musicking. You're scared by many things, but you scare walls. I like that accidental cloud. Okay. There, just for you, I've changed that one to sky, because now I can no longer keep track. And I'll clean up the wall edge. Sky. My household does occasionally produce the strange serenades of pipe music for the end of the world, but I don't think this one's me. I wonder, can I do that as one? No. Playing. Getting darker as we go down. Can I darken the wall repeatedly? Okay, I wasn't expecting it to happen like that. Easy, simple wall. How evil? I mean, when you say being very, very evil, how evil do you think you're being? Asking for a friend. We're still going to have to do something to connect those in, but layer 2, ground, mid-ground. I think there should be a rule that if you zoom out by accident and then zoom in really quickly, it just doesn't happen on the render stream, on the stream. That would be a nice rule, and I want that. Ooh, that's a nice effect. The two of these blended, especially with the paler one over the darker one. What I was doing there, of course, was painting the left-hand side and not grabbing the window and moving it. Bye-bye! He is weak. He could not survive us. Toodles. Now it's just me and the Catherine. I think that's a bit annoying. I've got this plateau effect there, and it looks like something a lot further away than I want it to, but I kind of like it, so I'm keeping it. Can you put mushrooms all over my woman? All over. Actually, I mean, technically it is the stone woman of the Chaosium Incorporated, but you should totally put mushrooms all over this. I want mushrooms. Here's our actual sunlight colour, finally. Because everything has been very warm so far. Like we've been working in earth tones. Which means that we do need to have all of these paler highlights. I suppose I could probably do that. Oh, Anthony's gone, which means I cannot hurt him by putting layer 11 up at the top and just calling it layer 11. Do all the little highlights. No, you must tell him that I misnamed my layers on purpose. For crying out loud. I need to find a way to lock the canvas. So Catherine, if I were to ask you what I should use to fill in this white space, would you say mushrooms? Like, I'm not judging you if you'd say mushrooms, but I kind of want to know. Yeah, weedy shrubs is good. I'm thinking maybe that's a tree line down along there. Part of my problem is just that I haven't really done a lot of digital art. So it's one of those things that, again, I totally know how to do it in oils. And I could bluff it in watercolour. But, okay, let me do a little bit more sky, because I'm going to bring this, oops, too much, too small. I'm going to bring the sky down. Like I said, I really need to learn how to lock that. Bring the sky down to there, although maybe a bit more horizontal. Have that like that, and then something here. There's definitely got to be those weedy shrubs or some kind of mountain background or something. And I suspect that we can't use the charcoaly brush. Oops. Background. That works for me. Kind of considering how to do this. Over on my other computer, naturally, I have lots and lots of naturey brushes and stuff that's ideal for this sort of thing. But maybe just hopeful, I don't know. That's okay for definition, but I think I want it softer than that. And it can't be the sky colour. Okay, now watch me experiment with critter brushes live online. Okay, if we fill that in, use that as our kind of dark look. Yeah, okay, it's kind of mostly successful at being trees. I don't have to do don't have to do it too much. The only thing I have to avoid is sharpening that too much. She said sharpening it too much. And I'm really just throwing paint onto the page here, but that's okay. No, the problem there was the first dark green bits I put in, which just look like shadows. They don't look like an extra tree behind. I'll have to creep some stuff in front of a wall as well. which... Oh, I put that on layer 11, didn't I? Because it was a highlight. I bet you I did that. No. You know what? Someone earlier suggested that I make useful names. They were right. I wonder if I can distress that appropriately. And then darken it down. Yeah. And then we'll go in a bit harder with some actual vegetation. Maybe that belongs on mid-ground, I don't know. This was all going well until suddenly someone, Catherine, was enthusiastic about it, and I decided I actually had to do a lot more. Yeah, that's nice. Blending that onto the ground is good. Bit too much, bit too wide. The dark bits need to be quite small. Trying to plan the roots of green stuff up here. It's awkward. I actually need something that's very definitely not going to change size and just make it really, really small. Smaller. That's fun because now I can't actually tell what I'm looking at. Nah, I need foliage. All of my foliage brushes, of course, back on the old computer. So, something scratchy. Now, of course, I regret the original strong line going down there. But hey. So I'd say nature is healing, but this is nature, that's Idrima. And we're almost there. We've got a little more to finish off here. I'm going to leave the sky relatively blank, and I'll probably darken up some of the cross hatching in Idrima herself. Using the scratchy oil brush rather than the big charcoaly one. Let's see how the big charcoaly one matches up. Yeah, I think I prefer charcoaly. Whee. I think this is set to soft charcoal. I love it very much. This is also foreground, even though it's a little bit behind her. I'll keep it dark and then just add one last highlight back on layer 11. we want that way? Excuse me for 1 second. Life is terrible. I just got offered tea. Okay, this background here doesn't go quite far enough down. I do want to keep that curve. So back to mid-ground. Consider our life choices briefly. And then just fill that in. It's a bit big. There we go. Fill in especially any gaps where you might lose the idea that the ground is solid. Okay, Idrima is halfway to terrifying the ever-living hell out of me. Layer 2, no, layer 3 has some extra colour on. I am being delivered tea. There is a thump. That is a thump of tea being delivered. I hand over my tea ticket. Goodbye, tea troll. Ooh, and I just looked back at Idrima and it was fresh and I like her. So that's good. I wasn't expecting to actually really like it when we were done, but here I am and I looked at her and she's solid and I think, yeah, totally need to highlight that bit there, put some more highlights in, but actually I kind of like this as a design. So that is good. We'll add in more browns, give more texture up at the front. Yeah, she's definitely coming up out of here. Pretty much done. Ah, I've just found out the reason why the tea troll loved me. He wants a favour in return. Go away, tea troll. It's beautiful. I think this bit is probably a bit light and I'm going to darken it down. There are some highlights to be added. Tea troll likes the picture. Very delicate one there, most of which isn't actually a highlight. And then that curve there picks up the sun, which I just totally failed to do before. Oh, I can actually remind Catherine, drink tea. Comes up on her stream sometimes. The thing I really like about digital painting is that I can go over an area like that and then with the same brush remove a chunk of it so that I can do things that I couldn't do with a real brush. I wonder what happens if we fill in that bit of sky there. Yeah, I think that yellow peeking through is good. So it turns out that layer 11 is our sunlight layer colour. Our sunlight colour layer. If you are following along at home, really do not do it like this. I'll actually give her, that's a bit awkward, we can't give her the full aura effect. We can give her, yeah. Okay, we can, we just need to make sure that we darken down the darks properly. Okay, starting to like this now. This is a bit of a problem, partly because it's like someone else's IP and I'm messing around and you know, I love it, but I should probably work on my own stuff. And partly it's a problem because I didn't start with a solid sketch because it was only going to be a quick thing. It's like, you fool. I wonder what I did there. Did I just lock you? I just locked you. Right, I need to darken this bit here, especially now we have some actual highlights. Oh yeah, suddenly lots and lots of lumpy solid solidity there. Yeah, that's good. Sometimes my brush is going onto something and you can't see what's happening because actually there's a different layer that we could be operating on. I'm just going to quite softly take out some of this. Oh, accidental highlight there. Love it. Make sure that we lock that one in. As my art teacher once said to me, very good, now do it on purpose. I think if I take this bit any further, it's not going to do me any favours. Like, there are small things I can do. Like, make certain of the shadows here. But the only thing that's actually worrying me is this wall. Like, I don't know, is it in the foreground, is it in the background? And I think I made a bit of a mistake in making it too tall. So I'm going to introduce just a bit of scale into it. I wonder if I actually already have any brushes set up. Yeah. I'm going to introduce some scale into it. By making it actually have tiny, tiny windows, and that puts it a long way away. Is that going to work? I think so, but those are window details, so they probably go on copy of wall or something like that. And the idea here isn't to do windows clearly, it's to do kind of suggestions. Because, yeah, even with one or two in there, in no place that really makes sense, you suddenly get more of a sense of that being massive and a long way away, which I was trying to do by making it blurry, but then I kind of melted it into the mid-ground. So I'll try to deal with the fact that the mid-ground exists and has all those plants on it. But as soon as I put those details in, the wall suddenly becomes much, much further away. And then mid-ground, yeah, mid-ground has all that colour, but I'm going to make the plants going up the wall